Hello artists, welcome to our summer clip frame craft class. Today we have our wooden clip frame. You should have a cup of water, some glue, and your container should say glue on it, your white paint, and then your really pretty turquoisey blue color. In addition, you should have a brush, your 3 shells, and a paper towel. If you do not have all those materials, not a problem. Just push pause on the video and come back whenever you're ready. But the first thing we're all going to do is we are going to take our brush, swirl it around in our cup, get everything nice and clean for our painting class. All right, and then go ahead and dry your brush a little as well. For our first step, we are going to start painting our 3 shells. Just as a heads up, this is going to be in an ombre form, so you're going to have your blue on its own here with a little bit more white added to it on this palette, a little bit more white added onto this palette, and then just white on this bottom one. So you will have that ombre look on your wooden clip frame. So with our shells, we're going to kind of have the same idea. We're going to have one that's all blue, one that's a medium blue, and then one that's our lightest blue. And we'll just kind of leave it off to the side to dry while we're painting this. So grab one of your shells, whichever one you want just to be the blue color. You're going to very carefully paint it with your brush and just the blue itself. Mix this a little bit more. And you might have to do 2 coats of this blue. It's totally up to you. You might still be able to see some of the shell underneath it, but that's really cool too. If you do want a thicker layer, you can always give it a couple coats of the blue. You are going to definitely get messy by holding the shell. And again, once it's dry, you can always come back and touch up some areas that you might have not been able to touch up while you were giving it its first coat. I am going to get the inside area just in case it's visible later on. And once you're done painting it, you can just lay it onto your wax paper very carefully. So I have my blue one, and then I'm just going to take a scoop of blue and a scoop of white and make like a medium blue. Go back and make it a little bit darker. My blue needs to be mixed a little bit more. It's really watery, but yours shouldn't be. You should be nice and mixed a little bit more. But a nice medium blue. I went back for a couple scoops of blue and just 1 scoop of white. And made sure it was definitely lighter than my previous blue. So a couple scoops of your blue, 1 scoop of your white. Again, if you want it to be darker once you see it on the shell, you can go back to more blue. If you want it to be lighter, you can go back to more white. I think I just want it to be a little bit darker. If you wanted to, you can always go back and give it a couple of coats as well. Get it all, that medium blue all the way around. You might still be able to see the shell on it. That's totally fine, or that the brown textures. Looks really cool. And once you're done with that, just lay it on a nice flat space. Again, you are definitely going to get messy. You can always wipe off your hands. And I'm just going to add more white to this mix that I have here, so that I have the lightest blue to where it's almost white. And that's going to be with my last piece. Scoot them over so I have room and I have it in order so I know which one is the darkest, which one is medium, which one's the lightest. Just in case it's harder to tell once it dries. Take your time with those, get those nicely coated exactly how you want them. might go back after a couple minutes and give them another coat. But take your time, but once you're dry, you can go ahead and wash and dry your brush. You can clean up your hands a little bit, because I'm sure you got a little bit messy. And we're really not going to worry with the back of the frame. Later on, if you wanted to paint the back of the frame, you absolutely can. But it's just going to be harder to carry once you're done with your project. But if you're at home creating this, it might be a little bit easier to do the back. But if you're at school creating this, it might be just easier if you just do the front for now. But whatever you or your class decides. All right, step 1 is painting this palette all with this blue on its own with my big brush. If you get some on the silver part, that's totally fine. It's easy to clean off at the end. Kind of get in that space. I'm just kind of painting side to side along with the wood frame, or the wood grain going side to side. And if you wanted to, you could always give a couple of coats of this blue. You just don't want to pass that line for the palette. You can even lift this up so you can see a little bit more. Again, if you get some on the silver part where the clip is, that's totally fine. It's always easy to wash that off with just your paper towel and your water. You can clean it off when it's wet or dry. Either one is totally fine. Into the space right here. There we go. Get everything nice and smooth. And again, if you wanted to go back at the end and give everything another coat, to make it a little bit more solid to where you don't see the wood as much, you can go back and give it another coat. Or this is just like a very light look. It's, you know, it almost has like that watercolor look to it, very beachy. So you don't have to give it another coat if you don't want to. Right now, since you have blue on your brush, if you wanted to go back and give that shell another coat of blue, you can. It's totally up to you. But that'll definitely cover it up a little bit more. But if you like it, you know, just with one coat, it's up to you. Just be sure there's no big bumps or anything on there. Make sure everything looks nice and clean. You can always wipe the extra off on your paper towel. And then once you're done, you're ready for that second palette. Your blues and whites, I forgot earlier to say, are in little containers. You don't have to take them out. You are just mixing on your wax paper. So you're welcome just to take the scoops out onto your wax paper rather than pouring out the whole container. But for our next palette, I'm just going to take a couple scoops of blue and a little bit of white. 1 scoop of white. So this was 2 scoops of blue and a scoop of white. And I'm going to have an even lighter blue and almost just a white on that last one. So just be sure you have enough. So 2 scoops of blue, 1 scoop of white was my recipe for this one. And I'm just going to go in there and see how it looks. I think I want it a little bit lighter, so I might go back in there and just add a little bit more white to my brush. Just know that you are making an ombre, so just be aware that you're going to have 2 lighter areas. Just make sure it's a nice flow for your wooden frame. That looks like a nice little transition from one to the next. So it's a little bit lighter, but not too much to where I have room to make even 2 lighter pieces after this. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. This is a great frame to put like summer pictures in. So if you go to the beach this summer, if you do something super summer, even if you go, to the lake, anywhere by water, this would be a great frame to put your pictures in. And it's so easy, just instead of like having to take out of the glass frame, it's just so easy to kind of clip on and off. Makes it much easier. You can even do a couple pictures at a time. Or clip on like stickers, clip on like little fun things, and later on we'll also glue the shells in the corner. But there's still room, you can add some other fun, crafty things to it. And again, you can change it. If it's attached to the clip, you can always change it as the summer goes by. Okay, so this nice blue. And again, I can use this blue on this medium blue that I have up here with the second coat. It's totally up to you. Add a little bit more white to this one. I feel like it's a little bit close to the other blue, lighter. All right, for my next blue, I definitely want it to be really light, almost like this blue that I created before for my lightest shell. So let's try to get somewhere close to that. Let's do maybe 1 scoop of blue and then 2 scoops of white. Again, you could just take these out of your container and put onto your wax paper. Maybe even a little bit lighter. I go back for a little bit more. Just always comparing it to the previous blue, making sure you have a nice gradual change. I think that's it. Let me try it onto my wood palette. So maybe a scoop of blue, 3 scoops of white I did, or 2.5 scoops of white. But again, I can come over here and put it on my wood and see if that's a nice gradual change. Yeah, I think it's a dark, medium, and light. And I still have room to get even more white on this last one, so I think it's a nice, easy change from one to the other. Again, once you have it on the wood, if you don't like it, just add a little bit onto the wood and just kind of move it along side to side and see how it looks. Again, you can do 2 coats of these, but you don't have to if you like that kind of watercolor thin paint look. It's totally up to you. Or it feels like there's more water on the brush than there's actually paint. Kind of has a cool look whenever you do a lot of beachy paintings. There's that second one. Really pretty change. Oh, that's going to be so nice. I'm not really worrying about the sides on any of these. So I have my dark, my medium, my lightest, making sure there's no wood peeking through on this top part. You can kind of go into those creases a little bit too. Move it up. And for my last one, it's almost white. It's so light. You can even just, start off with 1, 2, and I'm not cleaning my brush on any of these. I'm just kind of going from one to the next. 3 scoops of white, and maybe just like 1 scoop of blue. It's so light. I might want it even lighter than that. So let me scoot this up just a little bit. So it's almost all white. I want to make sure it's super, super light. I think I still want some more white in there. Let me see how that's going to look on the frame. But this is almost reaching white, so yeah, that's perfect. So I think it was like 1 scoop of blue and like 3 scoops of white. Really, really light. Again, once you have it on the frame, if you want it to go lighter, add more white. If you want it to go darker, add more blue. It's kind of, you can officially like see it once it's on the wooden frame. Sometimes it looks a little bit here than it does on your frame, so don't be afraid to actually kind of mix it while it's on the frame. I might just go back for a little bit more white since it's nice and light. Again, try not to pass that line. You can go in it if you like. And you can always go back and touch it up. So if, let's say you don't like your gradual ombre, you can always go back and add more blues and whites to the layout that you have. So it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. You can always go back and touch it up. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. And once you're done, you can wash and dry your brush. But again, be sure everything is covered nicely. Nice gradual change on mine. Can I see those blues get lighter and lighter? There's just like a tad of blue, tiny, tiny bit of blue on this last palette. Once you're done, you can wash and dry. Oh, and if you wanted to, you can add a little bit of this lighter blue to this last shell too. But take your time, no rush. Be sure you have your 4 laid out exactly how you like. Make sure everyone can see that top. I'm going to work in this top right corner with my shells in just a moment. You don't want to, when we go in there and glue in our shells, you don't want it to be in this space because you're most likely going to have your pictures and all your fun stuff hanging from the clip. So you can do your shells up here, up here. You can have them scattered. I'm just going to have them all bunched up in kind of like the top right corner. But before you make it official, you can kind of test it out. If your shells are still super wet, you can give them some more time to dry, or it's okay if they're just a little bit wet. They can kind of dry out through the day, so they don't have to be super dry at this point. But if you wanted to watch and kind of see what this step looks like before you go in there and figure out where you want your shells to be, if you like it, in the corner, or once I have it glued out, if you want it somewhere else on this dark blue area, that's totally fine. Just be sure that your brush is really washed and dried well. And you want to make sure that you're gluing where it's nice and flat to where your shell isn't going to roll away. So pretty much on the bottom where my shell is sitting now, you can even do a little quick layout like on your wax paper to see, okay, I want this shell here, that shell there, that over there. So that's the look I want. So before you go on and glue it onto your frame, you can kind of see how it's going to look like. So I'm going to take this piece right here, my biggest piece first, and with my darkest blue. Again, you can choose whichever piece you want. It truly doesn't matter. Just kind of have it laid out. Be sure you have the glue on the part where it sits. It's a good amount of glue. I want to make sure. And again, it's okay if your paint is a little bit wet still. It'll dry out through the day. And let's see, I want it maybe like over here. And it will definitely take, you know, a good day to dry. You don't want it to be too wiggly. You can even kind of get into some of the spots underneath where it's not going to be visible. And this glue does dry clear. You can even push down on it a little bit, get into those little spots. But be sure that there's a good amount of glue. I can even double check underneath here and put a good glob of glue underneath it. Just be sure it's nice and neat. Just push down on it. So there's my first shell. And my second shell, let's say I want to take my medium one, my medium sized one, or you can, you know, truly, again, it doesn't matter which one you do, just be very careful. Put a bunch of glue. I might just put a bunch of glue where I want this one to sit right now too, but not too much. I can always go in there and add more if I need to. And where it sits flat, I can push down on this shell. And then last but not least, I can do the same thing to this bottom one. If you need to clean your hands before each shell change, in case you're scared that some of the paint from your hand is going to transfer onto your shell. Oh, let me put some down on the too. But again, it is going to take a while to dry for the shell and for the glue to dry. So just be sure it's a nice flat space to where it's not going to move around a lot. Since the glue is still kind of wet, I can move them around a little bit. But again, mine is just in the top right corner. It's okay if they touch, if you want them to be more, you know, bundled up together. If you want them a little bit separated. It is going to dry a little bit prettier. You won't see the glue. You won't see like the wet, shiny paint. It's all going to dry really nicely together. I think I might want to kind of shift some of them. But here and there. Get it down exactly how you like. Easy as that. So fun. Be sure, again, you have give them some time to dry. Once it's dry too, you can always go back if you're at home and just kind of touch up some of the areas to make sure those shells aren't going to slide anywhere. But this is the glue that we're using. It's like extreme Elmer's glue, so it's really good. A school glue, but it's a little bit tougher for a little bit tougher project, so hopefully it won't move too much. But artists, there you go. There is your really cool summer frame. I hope you have amazing summer adventures. Don't feel afraid to not change your pictures. You can change them however you want. Also, there is a little wooden clip that should have come with your frame. Let me see if I can find mine really quick. Mine is MIA for the moment, but there is like a little wooden frame. See if I can turn mine back. If my shells fall, that's okay. I can always reglue them. So there's a wooden stick that you can put in the back right here. That'll hold your frame up, so it'll kind of stand up a little bit more. It's almost like a little stand, but it's a little stick that you should have come in that package that you can just put in that little hole in the back of your frame, and that'll make your frame stand up on a tabletop or on a countertop, on a shelf too. So you can always use that. But be sure, again, your shells are nice and dry before you stand your frame up. But really cute, really cool summer project. I hope you guys have fun, and I hope you guys have a great summer. Bye-bye.